Welcome to Data Cleaning Techniques in Tableau. After watching this video, you will be able to use web authoring to upload and explore data, change data types, create calculated fields, rename and hide data fields, and run the data interpreter to clean data. In this demonstration, we will explore a data source and then perform some data cleaning in Tableau Public. So we will navigate first to the Tableau Public website, which is public.tableau.com. Here we can go ahead and sign in using your credentials. And then we can go to Learn Sample Dataset or Sample Data tab. So, and scroll all the way to the healthcare or to the health tab or category. And I'm going to go ahead and use the US County Health Rankings as my example in here. Click on the dataset CSV to download the file. Then I'm going to switch back or scroll back up, launch my web authoring tool, which is the free version of my online Tableau Public. That's going to take me to the Connect to Data dialog. Under Files, Upload from my computer. And I know my file is under my Downloads folder. Click on it, open it. It will take a few seconds to upload the file. And once the file is opened, of course, as you guys remember, we're going to need to update it by clicking on Update Now. Okay, let me just go ahead and expand it a little bit. And as you can see, Tableau will extract the data set for you, and it will auto-assign data types for each field of this data set. For example, if you look on the left side here where you have the metadata of your data set, there's few fields that gets the global icon, numerical icons, as well as some string or text fields in your data set. You can click on any of those fields to view the data type for that column. For example, the state has a string data type, and it also has some geographical role. In this case, we can assign some longitude and latitude values for this geographical field. If you view, for example, this field that has a numerical or a quantitative icon, you go to the change data type, this field has a whole number data set. And again, Tableau will auto-assign those fields or those data types based on the data stored in that data set. Again, if you want to go, for example, to a field that has an ABC, which means it's a string field. And really, any string field in Tableau will also have some geographical role, so that way you can also plot those data on a map if you want to figure out a longitude and latitude for some of those fields. And we're going to take examples for those in future videos. Now, if you want to go ahead and change, for example, some of those data types, let's say, for instance, I want to go ahead and view the date or data release here, which is currently on a numerical data type. I want to change it to something else. Let's go ahead and change it to Boolean. And each time you change a data type, you will need to update it to get the most current data. And if I scroll all the way to the left, I think it's a column right here. As you can see, everything now it's on null. because again, it's, you see the data type right here is TF, which means true, false. This is a Boolean data type now, which which turned all these values from a year into a null, because Tableau does not know how to convert, for example, 2000 or the number 21300 into a true false value. I'm going to change it back to a whole number. Update now. Because it's not something that you would typically do. Now, if you look at the data set in here, and whenever you work with data, it's hard to work with null values. And you can tell here by just simply observing or just looking at this column or this field, that this field has lots of null values. Let me actually sort it. When you sort this, you're clicking on this simple icon in here. Okay, you can tell that this field has lots of null values. Okay, and I want to go ahead and replace these null values with the value 0. Can I do this? Yes. We can take advantage of a calculated field. So if you click on this column, so you basically want to change the values or the null values that's under this column from null to 0. Okay, so click on this one, you go to create calculated field. And what I want to do is you can take advantage of a great function, a built-in function called ZN. I'm going to go ahead and just open a round bracket or a parenthesis and close it in here. And then I'm going to you can rename this to, for example, data release year, okay, 1, okay. Click, okay. So what's going to happen here, ZN means replace nulls with the value of 0, as simple as this. So any null value that you found in this field or in this column, replace it with the value 0. Click OK. It's going to update now, of course. Then it's going to go ahead and create this new calculated field to the right of the original one. So data release 1, and each field that has a null value, okay, now has a value of 0 because of that ZN function. Okay, so scroll down, you won't find any null values on this new calculated field, but these null values are still in the original one. You can go ahead and hide this one by just simply clicking on hide. Of course, you need to update now to get the new extract of this data set. Okay, now let's take another example of how to create a new calculated fields based on existing columns. So if you look at this column, for example, I'm sorting this again in here. If you look at this column, FIPS code has also a bunch of null values. But I want to go ahead and write a function or create a new calculated field where I'm not going to replace nulls with zeros in this case. I want to go ahead and replace nulls with the value of, let's say, 17,000, for example. So as we did in the previous one, it's this column. We're going to go ahead and click on this pick list, choose create calculated field. And what I'm going to tell it is take advantage of a function called isNull. So if this column or the values in this column, if you find a null value, okay, then replace it with a value of 17,000. Otherwise, or else, just keep the value as is. Okay, and of course you have to end it. So let me read this again. If you find a null value in this field, then I'm going to replace it with a value of 17,000. And we can see right here, we have a bunch of null values, right? Otherwise, if you don't find null, just keep the same value as is, and then end it. I'm going to create a new field called, for example, FIPS code, okay, 01. Click OK. Of course, you're going to need to update to get the most current extract. And it's going to go ahead and create this new field or a new calculated field to the right of the original one. And as you can tell, all the null values now are being replaced with the value 17,000, because that's what the function is telling it to do. And everything else remained the same. If it's not null, we're just going to grab the same exact value. Of course, you can go ahead and hide this if you don't need it. Update now. So you can keep the new calculated field as is. So to save our work, make sure you publish. Click on publish. It's going to prompt you to give your extract or your Tableau extract a name. I'm going to name it demo and just hit publish. That way it will save all your changes, and you can actually view this when you log back into your Tableau on the main page. Okay. Now, in the next example, what I want to show you guys is sometimes you're probably dealing with some some data sets that might not be in the best shape or might not be formatted as you expected. So maybe there's some merged fields. Let me show you an example in here. I think I have one in my downloads folder. It's an Excel file. Let me open this file for you. Okay. It's not this one. So if you look at this file, you're going to see there's some merged field in here, for example. So for example, we have, this column is, has some data in it. And we also has, and the actual data starts from row 5. Okay. And the first four rows has some, some data, some are just, empty rows with no data. So what I'm trying to say is you might be dealing or extracting some files that it's not really in the best shape or is not really as expected, like this one. What can we do with those type of files? Let me show you. I'm going to go back into my public Tableau. Let me actually exit out of this one so we can just start fresh. Okay. And I'm going to go and launch my web authoring again. Upload that same file, which is an Excel document, from my downloads folder. Okay. Again, as usual, I'm going to go ahead and update now. And when you look at the data in here, guys, okay, if you can see that even the column names has some real, like, weird names in here. I don't know where F1, F2, F3, F4 actually came from. And if you look at the metadata in here as well, and it's actually using the exact same field names and it's given some data types as well. But I know that my original data set does not have those as column names. So these are usually the results of data sets with merge fields or data sets that has the first few rows kind of like an empty rows or has some few data. Okay, so basically not in the best shape as expected. So in cases like this, Tableau has such a nice feature to deal with issues like this. It's just as simple as a checkbox. Use data interpreter. When you check this box, Tableau will clean that data set to make it look or actually to clean it and to put it in a shape as expected. This is usually helpful and useful with data sets that has, for example, some merged fields, or with data sets that has few empty rows, as we saw with this example. So if you click this checkbox or check this box, it might take a couple minutes or, probably less. And then of course, you're going to need to update now. And you can see right now, all these F field names now is being revert it back to the real names, to the actual names coming from the data set. Again, it might take a minute or so to auto-populate these fields again after you click update now. But using this field, and it will clean the data set for you and will put it in a shape as expected. If you scroll, left and right, you can tell that my data now is cleaned, and Tableau will tell you it's cleaned now with Data Interpreter. Again, it's a great feature with Tableau to use, especially with those data sets that has some, merge fields or has a few empty rows, especially at the top of that data set. Thank you so much for watching.